There are a number of tools in centralized version control system area, as that's the one that has been used for years now in the industry. So basically, the architecture, if we look at it, this is the major difference. There's no centralized repository or server as such in case of distributed version control system, and in case of centralized version control system, we have you know a centralized server as such, which holds the repository, and the user has to connect to the centralized repository, the server, in order to work on it. So on every day, the practice would be in the morning when a person, the developer, starts working, he will check out the repository to his workstation or workspace, and then at the end of the day, he will check in whatever he has updated. And on a daily basis, it would always be beneficial for him to check in his work, so that there are less instances of a conflict that might occur. So that's a major requirement in case of version control systems. In case of distributed version control system, the major is every commit and the version control operations are local. So every user on his machine or her machine has the local repository, and whatever changes are checked in, or the terminology in case of Git would be to commit or add. So it would be checking into the local repository, and only in case he or she has to share the work with the other user, then either the user can pull the repository from the other user, or he can push it to the user as well. There are other concepts like cloning repository, in case if a person wants to have the entire project repository on his machine, so he can clone the entire repository as well. Okay, so that was the major concept. And when we talk about SVN, so SVN, we currently are going to use a visual SVN server, and that we have rather installed on the local machine. In normal case, it wouldn't be so. In normal case, it will be a centralized server where the developer will connect to that server using either a client or from command line interface as well. So if it is a client, it would be usually Tortoise SVN or a similar one. So Tortoise SVN actually gives interface in visual manner.
Ganesh, I am able to hear you.
Okay, thanks. And Bhanu, I just saw you joined a few minutes back, so thanks for joining. And so what we were talking about mostly was about SVN and the concept about the version control system, as a types of version control system. So those were most of the things that we covered last time. I was just trying to recap on that. And so as I was saying, guys, as a server, we have Visual Subversion installed on this machine. So that's going to be our server, for today's session. Usually, as I was saying, it won't be so. Server will always be at a centralized, dedicated server, because the amount of data it would hold would definitely be the major one. So it is always beneficial and advisable to have a dedicated server for the centralized type of version control systems. And then the tools like Tortoise can be used to connect to that. Okay, so we'll just go through this slide. So the default folder structure that would usually be part of SVN, that rather SVN suggests to create. It is definitely not a requirement as such. We can have our folder structure, a project structure that we can follow. And the default folder structure that SVN suggests is to have trunk, tags, and branches as the folders. So usually the conception would be to have trunk as a development, it would hold the project uh, code that is in the development phase, and all the development activities would be carried out in the trunk. Okay, and any release or a feature that is to be developed would be carried out in a separate branch as such, and those branches created for different features or different releases would there be in the branches folder. And once a release is activity or a feature is ready for production release, it would then be snapshot and tagged as the reference in the tags folder. Okay, and that's how the tags would be used as. Okay, and for going back to a production release or the version, if we want to restore a particular version into a trunk or say a feature branch for some reason, we then be using the tags for such cases. Okay, tags to point to that particular version that has been released into the production. So we'll quickly move into so this is what I have on my machine. Okay, and okay, so in normal case, when I have a server installed, I wouldn't have any repository in here. And as a administrator or as a user who has privileges to create repositories, I can the user can create repositories in there, and that can be done just by right clicking and using the option of create a new repository. I can even import an existing repository. So what this does mean is either I can use existing SVN repository that I have say pulled from any earlier version of server, okay, or I can even use this option to another location or say dump file as such. So these are the two options that I would get: copy a repository from another location and make a hot copy of repository from another location. What this means is I can actually connect to a SVN server which is running, and a repository that may be in use. I can use that, use this rather option to actually copy that repository to my location. Yes, Suresh, you wanted to say something in here? Okay. I hope you guys are able to view my screen now. I'm not sure what was wrong with that. So, okay. Thanks for the confirmation. So, what I was navigating through is we had this screen, which is a visual SVN server, and these are the repositories that we currently have, that I have created in here. And I can create more repositories just by saying right clicking on the repositories option and go to create new repositories. What I was saying, we have an option as the import repositories, existing repositories, and then if I click on that, I have these two options. I can either hot copy an existing SPN repository, or I can have a dump file, could be like VSS or TFS dump file, and I can use that to create a repository. So these are options that I have. In user, I can create users and then give rights to those users to use uh, the repository. So if I go to say create new repository, uh, I'll be asked whether I want this option as FSFS, and I'll have to give a repository name, and then in here it will ask me whether I want to create an empty repository. In this case, it would be an option. I can have my own folder structure, or if I say single project repository, it would then create a trunk, branch, and tags folder for me. So default and empty folders. So these are the folders we just talked about. Those will hold the branches, development, work, activities, and so on. So if I select say empty repository, and then it will ask me whether I want to assign a particular user. In this case, all subversion users will have read write. I can also use LDAP facility as well. If I have a Active Directory, or if I'm connected to Active Directory, I can use the Active Directory users to give permission to the repositories and such. So we'll not go ahead in here. Inside this repository, I have Maven repository. Inside that, I have two folders, and these two folders are for the projects that sample projects that I have created. And we'll go to Eclipse. Eclipse is going to be my ID for the Maven demonstration. And for Eclipse, you anyways know, like if it is a Java project, you need to have a Java installed, JDK or JRE installed on the machine, and then you set Java underscore home, JRE underscore home, and so on. So that's a usual practice that we carry out. Okay. So these are my two projects that I have. One is a simple Java app, and the other is a web app. And so if I see in here, so the question, Banu, as you asked, if you are going to use Python, you don't actually have to have a separate plugin as such. So in this case also, I do not really have to install a separate plugin. What I had done is actually, I downloaded the Maven software on this machine, and I really don't have to install Maven as such. Okay, I just have to set the environment variables in this case. And the same way, in case of Python, you just have to set the environment variables to uh, use instead of Java, you can use Python in that case. So what you just have to do is go and set the environment variables in here. So in case of as I said, if it is a Java, I'll have to set the Java underscore home, and for Maven, I have set this M2 underscore home and Maven underscore home. The only requirement is, even if you are using Python, you still have to have Java installed, because the Maven and Maven is actually going to use Java home as such. So you still have to have Java installed, JDK installed in here. Okay. So that's what is important. And so what I was saying is about Maven. What I have done is, we have just downloaded, the Maven. Let me show you what I get if I download Maven on this machine. And that's a Windows version that I downloaded. So let me see if I have it in here. Oh, so this is a zip file that I got when I downloaded, Maven on my machine. Okay, so what I have to do is I just have to unzip to a location, probably on C drive, and and then this would be my Maven home. And as I was saying, the environment variables that I have to set for Maven are usually two. Setting Maven underscore home as my environment variable usually will suffice, but the earlier versions of Maven needs to have m2 underscore home as mentioned in the environment variable as well. So that's what I have done for the version 3.3.9, and the latest versions and the next versions need not have m2 underscore home mentioned in here. Okay, you just can have Maven underscore home mentioned. So, but no harm in mentioning both of it. Okay, so what I have done is I have copied it in on C drive. I extracted that on the C drive, and this is my uh, you know uh, this is my Maven home. And whether a Maven is installed on my machine, I just have to uh, run this command mvn version. So if this gives me output, say Apache Maven, what version that I have, then Maven home, and Java version, what Java version I have, and the Java home information and all. If this particular command mvn under dash version, if this gives this information, this means that I have Maven correctly installed on my machine. Right? That's only the probably the test that I can carry out. Okay, once I do that, the same gets definitely reflected in here as well. Okay, the important thing when I say about Eclipse, the same is there for, say the other IDs as well. Okay, Eclipse has inbuilt plugin for Maven. Okay, you don't really have to separately install a plugin for Maven inside Eclipse for separately using the Maven options as such. So in this case, if I have to build this particular project using Maven, if I right click on the project and go to run as, I automatically get these options. So these are the typical Maven commands, I would say, that are available. So for uh, build, or say cleaning the repository, install, in the sense it will install the artifacts onto the mentioned location. Maven test would run the actually the test cases for me. And if I use Maven build and the second option, Maven build, it actually opens me this window, and here I can mention the goals is going to be my command. So if I go to this document, okay, let me open another document. Okay, so what I wanted to tell you guys is, when we say about these different commands, okay, when I say clean and the other commands like package, okay, this would mean that I'm asking Maven to run the clean command, and then I'm asking Maven to create a package for me. Okay, or say compile. Okay, so what this will do is it will clean and then compile. I just have to you know give a space between the two words clean and compile. So Maven will understand that okay, I have to first run the clean command and then compile. What does clean means? It will actually delete all the artifacts from the workspace. Okay, and it will then have uh, you know the new if it is a compile, it will compile the say .java file, and it will have the compiled version for me. Or say if I say package, it will give me the binaries as an output, and then I can mention okay what location I have to have these binaries or the output at. Okay. So that's what different commands that I can give. If I have to give more commands, I can just give a space and then say package. Okay. So when I'm saying a build lifecycle in Maven, what does this mean is, say if I run a command as package, what it will do is it will first run the validate command, then it will compile, then it will run the test, and then it will run the package. Okay. If I in case run directly the install command mvn install, in that case what would happen is it will run all these commands one by one, validate first, then compile, then test, then package, integration test, verify, and then install, and same way for deploy. So that's the build lifecycle Maven will automatically follow. Okay, I don't have to run all these commands one by one. Okay? So if I say deploy, it will actually run all those first 7 commands and then do the deploy. Okay, that's what the Maven lifecycle is all about. So if I say clean and compile and run it, it will give me all this output. Okay, and in Maven, if the build succeeds, it will give this clear message as build success, or if it fails, it will say build failed. Okay, and the other things it will actually, if you look at, it is running. Okay, in here, if it is if we have the clean command, it will run this mvn clean plugin. So again, mvn has this concept of plugins. Okay, so if I go to this particular file in here and look at this XML, it is actually giving me all the configurations that are there for running these commands. Okay, so if I have to run all these commands, compile, clean, package, I have all these plugins. Okay, and I don't really have to worry about installing these plugins separately. So when I run this, Maven will actually look at whether those plugins are available in the repository, local repository for Maven. If those are not there, it will go to the Maven this particular URL, mavenapache.org. Okay, and it will actually download all those plugins for me, and then install it. So the other important point while understanding Maven is about pom.xml. So pom.xml is actually the POM stands for project object model, and it is the XML file that helps me to configure my build for this particular project. So few things to note in here are about dependencies and then plugins. Okay, so for most of the projects that we usually work on, there will definitely be number of dependencies. Like I'll have to pull some jar from, or I'll be using a jar in my project. I would be calling some method, outside method into my project. Public class or number of things that I'll be using in my project as dependencies. And if those dependencies are not available, my build will definitely fail. So I'll have to mention those dependencies in here. Okay, so that's an important point, and that's a manual work that I'll have to do. So in this case, for running the test cases, I'm using JUnit. So I have to say that, okay, I have this dependency of JUnit for running the tests, and the version that I'm looking at for the JUnit is 3.8.1. Okay, and this particular piece of code about dependency, usually you can get it from let me see. Okay, so if I go to mvnrepository.com, I actually have various dependencies that I can use in my Maven project. Okay, so in case say I want to use ant related dependency, if I'm using ant in my script in my project, and if I have to use this as a dependency in my project, okay, and this particular version, I'll go to this home and this particular version that I want to use in as a dependency, and I'll use this piece of code. Okay, I just have to copy this and paste in here. It's a very simple thing that could do, and that's how I can mention my dependencies. I need not. It's not a mandate or requirement that I have to use it from here itself. Only thing is, it is readily available for me from mvnrepository.com site. So that's what I have done, and then when I mention these dependencies, I get those displayed in here. So for my this Hello World app project, these are my dependencies that I have mentioned. Okay, and that's what I am able to see it in here. Same for in here as well. Okay, so in here I have just one dependency. Okay, and that is what is being displayed in here. If I change my version, say to 4.1, if I save it, uh, it will download that version for me, and then it will change. So it took some time, but now it is displaying JUnit 4.1.jar, and that it downloaded actually from this repository, Indian repository for me automatically, and it is now there in the cache. So that's how and that's how simple it is. In here, in this web app project in pom.xml, I have installed. I have mentioned one more dependency about HTTP client. So in here, you see there are more dependencies that Maven has pulled for me. Okay. But if you look at HTTP core or common logging or commons codec, these are not mentioned in here. Okay, and those are still listed as the Maven dependencies. And in such cases, actually, the thing is, these are transitive dependencies. HTTP core, commons logging, and commons codec are actually the transitive dependencies. And I can, look at it in here. If I say, dependencies, and okay. So if I go to, dependency hierarchy, it will actually show me that, okay, if I am mentioning this HTTP client as dependency, HTTP client jar, this has its own dependencies, that HTTP core, commons logging, and codec. So it downloads those also. I don't really have to worry about those. Maven will take care of that for me. So that's what it has done. It will download all those, transitive dependencies for me automatically. Okay. So that's what important thing is, to have the form.xml. Okay.